got 3 inches of snow. Oh,
Yeah,
we've
I
got
just
3 inches of
started.
snow. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, welcome everyone.
Mhm.
Thank you for joining us. Hello and good day. I'd like to start out by introducing myself for those who may be new to our webinars. My name is Katie, and I've been with Sologic for just over a year, but my journey with root cause analysis began almost a decade ago. Back in spring of 2015, I attended my first RCA class while working in environmental compliance for an oil and gas company. That training sparked a curiosity in me. I loved the process of digging in to figure things out and solving problems. And one of the unintended but awesomely positive consequences is that I gained a better understanding of how different aspects of the business connected. So leading RCAs actually helped me grow and get better at my job because I was a more well-rounded employee. And so after that initial training, I began leading RCA efforts to address spills and other environmental issues at that company. It didn't take long before other departments started asking me to help figure out their problems, giving me even more opportunities to practice and refine my skills. And then 2 years later, I had a chance to shift gears and consult full-time, facilitating RCA investigations across various industries. And that's where the real fun began. I got to work with professionals in diverse roles and tackle a wide range of challenges, which accelerated my learning curve and deepened my expertise. And now, as part of the Sologic team, I'm excited to teach others how to facilitate RCA investigations and help organizations solve problems effectively. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, is solving problems. And so it's incredibly rewarding to share what I've learned over the years and see others succeed in their RCA efforts. But enough about me. Let's get started. I also have my colleagues, Brian and Michelle, on with me. So they
Hi.
will be monitoring the chat. If you guys have any questions or comments along the way, just pop them into the chat and they will interrupt me. So with that, we will get started. First, I'd just like to introduce Sologic's mission and vision. Our mission is simple yet powerful. It's to create a world of solution seekers with the ability to navigate uncertainty with confidence. And so you can break this statement into 2 parts. At its core, this mission is about empowering individuals and organizations to approach challenges with curiosity and resolve. We strive to equip teams with the tools and mindset to break down complex problems, identify root causes, and develop actionable solutions that lead to sustainable improvements. Uncertainty is inevitable, but it doesn't have to be paralyzing. We believe that the right approach and the confidence, we believe with the right approach and with confidence to adapt to anyone can become a proactive solution seeker, turning uncertainty into opportunity. And our vision is to be the definitive place where individuals and organizations come to find solutions and prevent problems. We aim to serve as a trusted resource, providing you with the tools, the expertise, and the guidance needed to address challenges effectively and proactively. We believe that preventing problems is just as important as solving them. And by fostering a culture of continuous improvement and equipping people with the skills to uncover root causes, we can help create solutions that not only resolve issues, but also prevent them from happening. So let's see. Oh, thanks, Brian. I see that was your chat in there.
Yeah, I'm just chatting. And can I talk to you periodically or will it throw
Of
you off?
course. Yeah, feel free to interrupt along the way.
Really? You say that now. Okay.
That's true. So we do have global capabilities. As you can see, we have offices all over. So if you are a global company and you got problems somewhere other than the United States, we're here to help you, no matter where you are. Here you can see some of the departments that we work with. It's pretty diverse. Again, you'll notice that any one of these departments have problems and we can help you solve them. And then this is just a nice slice of the pie. Here are some examples of the organizations that we work with. You'll see the US military up there, other countries, utilities, And again, no matter what organization you work with, no matter the size or the age, we all have problems. As much as I'd like to think that we'll get good or perfect at RCA and we'll just solve them all and there won't be any more problems at any given company, I have yet to see that happen. So again, we're here to provide the methodology and the platform to help you solve your organizational problems. And for those of you that have sat on a webinar or maybe even sat through training, this is our process. This is our method to solve issues or to lead a root cause analysis investigation. And so just a quick overview. Step 1 is to gather and manage data. Step 2 is to write the problem statement. Step 3 is to analyze the cause and effect. And step 4 is to generate solutions. And so that is actually where we will be spending our time in the topic today. And then step 5 is to write that final report. So I want to hear from you. I created a poll that I'm about to deploy. It's just 2 simple questions, but if you don't mind taking a moment to answer. So there's, again, 2 questions. You should see a pop-up on your screen. Number 1 is simply, did you make a New Year's resolution? Yes or no? And number 2 is, if yes, then what kind of resolution did you make? And so some of the most common ones are something related to your physical health, maybe your mental health, maybe something related to your wealth, or maybe professional resolutions, something to do with family or relationships. And then the last one is something related to creating or creative aspirations, maybe trying to learn a new skill or a new hobby. So yeah, and if you didn't actually formally do a New Year's resolution, if you still want to answer number 2, if you would have, or if you want to do over.
It's not too late though, right, Katie? Like they can just, today could be your day.
Well, you might get some inspiration. Maybe you were feeling like you didn't know where to start, or you've done this in the past and you didn't stick to it. So hopefully we're going to give you some tips and tricks to make those New Year's resolutions a little more sticky, to be a little bit more successful. So I'll give it just a couple more seconds and then we will review. But it looks like the overwhelming majority of you, 75% as of right now, said yes, you did make a New Year's resolution. So that's pretty cool. And then it might be the no's aren't participating in question 2, and that's okay. But we have a nice spread. Almost all of the answers were selected, except for nobody's into picking a new hobby or learning a new skill, not this year, or at least not in this poll. All right, so I'm going to end the poll and share the results. So again, 75% of you said that you did make a New Year's resolution. And then 8 out of 10 that answered said that it relates to physical health. And then we've got 4 out of 10 said something to do with mental health. 3 out of 10 said it has to do with wealth or personal finance. And we've got another 3 out of 10 that set some sort of professional New Year's resolution. And then also 3 out of 10 that said it had something to do with family or relationships. So I just, before or leading up to this webinar, I looked online just to see what were the most common New Year's resolutions. I don't officially set any New Year's resolutions personally. I think about them. I must admit that I'm one of those people that thinks there's nothing particularly special about the new year. And so I kind of just have these always goals, recurring goals, or just life goals that I'm always working towards. And I will tell you that mine primarily are physical health and personal finance. And coming in a close second behind those 2 are professional aspirations. So looks like we're all in alignment there. But it looks like, so, my screen is not advancing. I apologize. There we go. So again, here are some of them. Oh, and less vices, which I think can be tied to better health, but it seems like a lot of times we hear about stop smoking or being addicted to nicotine or drink less screen time. That's certainly one that's become more popular in the last 10 years or so. Then we also have learn a new skill, travel more. Yeah, again, become better at work or improve your performance at work. So I also found this image of a water bottle. Again, one of my personal just life goals is to stay hydrated. And a few years ago, I saw these water bottles hit the market where it has that time increment, which I thought was pretty cool because often I will fill up a water bottle and then I kind of forget to drink it for a couple hours and find myself chugging it at lunch or towards the end of the day. But I just thought that this water bottle with these time increment notches was a cool way to at least encourage someone to drink more water or fluids throughout the day. And then you even have, on this one in particular, you even have these words of encouragement along the way.
Katie, is that like a gallon or something, or how much is that?
Yeah, it is 128 ounces.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Drink
so
a gallon.
chugging it doesn't count. Wait a minute. So because that's something that I like to I chug goals as water bottles. I don't know if that makes sense.
Uh, I've never heard that before, but I like it.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was like, hey, forward progress is forward progress, whether it's water or goals, charge forward at it. And so again, that's what we're going to talk about today is like how to get there, how to check it off your list, how to accomplish your goals. So what are some of the commonalities? That's the whole title of this webinar. What are the commonalities between New Year's resolutions and RCA solutions? Maybe this is not something that you thought of before you saw the title of this webinar, but it was something that I'm not honestly not even sure, Brian, if I came up with it or you, but something that popped into my head, with January around the corner, and we started talking about this idea back in December.
I
And so
thought doesn't ChatGPT just write all of our webinars for us, and then
I
we just
wish.
are hasn't AI fully taken over for us, and now we're just a mouthpiece for maybe not yet.
I
That's a
wish.
secret.
Okay. I think you wrote it, by the way, so just FYI, I think it's all you.
So they both aim for making improvements, whether we're at work or in our personal life. They both require action plans. And I know that require is a strong word, but I do believe that they both require action plans to be successful or to give you the best chance at success. They both benefit from the SMART goal methodology, and that is where we're going to spend a lot of time today as well. I am a firm believer in the SMART goal methodology. If you happen to be on my webinar last fall about solutions, we talked about this. It's simple, but it's effective. So we're going to go through that. They both require a commitment and consistency. Again, first step is just setting the goal or creating the goal, but then we've got to stick to it. I wish it was as easy as just saying it. I'm going to be in better health this year, and then voila, it would happen. But unfortunately, that's not the case. I really have to make a commitment and stick to it. And along those same lines, they require tracking of progress and making adjustments. And so again, maybe your goal was to drink more water, stay hydrated, and that's how you left it. And so you weren't able to track your progress or make adjustments. But if you go get that fancy little water bottle we were just looking at, you can literally see your progress because it is a translucent bottle. It's got times on it. And now you know, am I on track to finish this gallon of water before the end of the day? And maybe you forgot an hour, but you can catch up over the next hour instead of waiting till the end of the day and then again chugging that full gallon of water, which can be pretty difficult. So these are some of the commonalities, and they are related to your biggest, or they have the same common challenges as well. So I would like to hear from you. I'm not going to do a poll this time, but if you don't mind using the chat to answer, what are your biggest challenges with setting personal goals or completing professional solutions? So whether it's tied to an RCA specifically, or just maybe any projects at work, whether they're big or small, what's your biggest challenges with those? And I'll give you a minute to answer.
Right in the chat, right, Katie?
Yes, please.
Can I do it too, or do you want?
No, please. Yeah, anybody.
Here, I'm gonna start.
Yeah, so external distractions, or Brian, as you said, other stuff crowds in, that certainly happens. And so we need to acknowledge those setbacks as learning opportunities, right? We can, if other stuff crowds in or we have distractions, we first got to recognize that those can happen, but then develop strategies or techniques to tackle those or to avoid those, or, figure out time management, how to prioritize so that those distractions you're either able to ignore in the short term. I don't want to ignore them forever, but we can stay focused in the short term, prioritize what's important right now. By definition, everything can't be super duper important. We don't want to give up and just taking things one day at a time. Let's see. Short-term priorities, I totally agree. Again, sometimes those get in the way. So we've got to be able to prioritize our tasks. Personally, I try to knock out the things I don't want to do first in the day. I just would rather, I'm not really a procrastinator by nature. So whatever the thing is that I'm least looking forward to, I get it done first. I just knock it out of the way. And then I
Yeah,
like some,
Katie, do you
Mhm.
know what John calls that? He
Mm-mm.
calls it eating the frog.
Ew.
I know it's gross, but he's like, well, if you've got to eat a frog, better to do
Just
it first
get it
thing.
over with.
Yeah.
Because personally, I stress and it is going to cause me, I just don't look forward to doing it. And so then it's on my mind. And so I personally would rather just get it over with and get it off my mind. Another person said setting checkpoints to check or refresh the progress. Another big challenge. So we would want to tackle that, which we're going to talk about by in the beginning, creating monitoring or progress strategies to check in with yourself or check in with the team, so that you're not nearing the deadline or due date and realizing that you're far behind. And so again, each situation is going to be unique, but we want to think about that in the beginning of, what's halfway, maybe what's, break it into parts, quarters, thirds, whatever, but where should we be a third of the way? What date should that correlate with? So definitely want to think about that in the beginning. Let's see, somebody else says, make sure I don't say yes to too much with my operations team, influence and get them to do the doing, yes, rather than taking control so I can better make use of my time. Delegation, I 100% agree. And that can be really difficult for many different reasons. I know I'm a doer. I like doing things myself. Brian and Michelle can attest to this. I often reach out to them to ask questions, but I'm like, hey, if this is something that I can do on my own and I just don't know where to look, please let me know, because I would rather go find the webinar roster. Earlier today, I asked Michelle for it. And again, I asked her, like, hey, if this is something I have access to that I can look to see how many people and who've signed up, just let me know. I don't want to bug other people. I want to do things myself. But depending on our role and depending on the tasks at hand, it may be a better use of our time to delegate some of these tasks if they're not absolutely necessary for you, the individual, to do them. Somebody else said it, competing priorities. This is actually one of my favorite cause languages. When we're asking why things were not done, a lot of times my thought process leads me to competing priorities. And so often, unfortunately, safety and financial can be competing priorities. To do things absolutely safe in the best way, a lot of times will take extra money. And sometimes that money is in the form of time, or sometimes it's in the form of products or tools. And so you've constantly got competing priorities, and it can be very difficult to manage. And I'll also admit to you guys right now, if I had the absolute answers to some of these issues, I would be filthy rich. Personal wealth would not even be on my goals, because I would be very wealthy. I would be Elon Musk wealthy if
Right.
I had the answers to these. So I'm in the same boat as you guys in figuring this out as well.
Well, when you figure it out, don't leave us behind because there's
I
plenty
won't.
around, right? Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
no, hey, I like to share knowledge. I'll be having a webinar every single week on how to tackle competing priorities. let's see, the last one that we got was mental model. How many balls can I keep juggling at the same time? Exactly. So it almost sounds like a lot of these answers are actually kind of in the same boat, whether we're short-term priorities or making sure we don't say yes to too many things, competing priorities. And again, there's only so many things or so many balls we can juggle. Personally, literally, I can juggle 0. The only thing I can juggle with any amount of success are plastic grocery bags. Somebody told me that's how you can learn to start juggling, and even that I don't succeed at. Michelle, Brian, can either one of you guys juggle lemons or tennis balls or anything?
Oh no, no juggling from me. I mean, you mean literally
Yeah,
juggle?
literally.
No. Michelle, I think can,
No,
right?
I have no eye-hand coordination.
Yeah.
I can juggle a single ball, Katie.
There you go. Yeah, I guess, is it juggling though if it's just one, or are you just playing
Hey,
catch with yourself?
don't take it away from me. That's all.
All right, good. Well, I'm right there with you. So thank you. Thank you for that feedback. And again, hopefully we're about to introduce some strategies to help us all with these. All right, so again, these are some of the common pitfalls that I find to be true, or from what I've observed. So sometimes the goal is unclear or lacks specifics. Like, again, I just want to be in better health this year. Well, all right, that's great, but it's kind of hard to know where to start, and how will I know when I'm done? Like, if my goal is to be in better health and I drink a gallon of water tomorrow, can I be like, done, I did it? I mean, in theory, I'm in better health than I was the day before. Number 2, failing to plan the process and the steps needed to achieve that goal. So again, having a clear, actionable plan is key. This is one of the biggest opportunities I see in the workplace when we get to the solution step of RCAs. I can't tell you how many times the solution is ensure people wear their PPE. I agree. It's a great idea. And I wish that if we just wrote that into a solution, that it could be done and it would be, again, check it off a list, bam. However, we have to take these ideas and turn them into action plans or doable solutions. So if we don't create action plans, it can definitely lead to frustration. And I've been susceptible to this. It's happened to me. You start to feel overwhelmed because you don't know how to make your idea come to fruition. And then the third one is sometimes the goal can just simply be too ambitious given the time, resources, or current abilities. And so you guys will see at the end, we're going to do a little mini case study on a personal goal of mine that's pretty darn ambitious, but I think I've laid out a pretty good plan. And so you guys will have to tell me what you think. But if these goals are just too big, given time and resources, energy, you're not going to set yourself up for success. And at the end of the day, again, I'm kind of thinking about these goals, about these resolutions with the end in mind. I want to give myself the best chance to succeed, whether it's personal or professional. And honestly, it's like equal with both. I don't want to fail in either case. So we just got to follow this SMART methodology and hopefully it'll work out. So how to avoid these? Well, let's get into what is a SMART goal anyway. SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And so each one of these has a little definition, and we're actually going to dig into the details. But you can see the basic definition. I like that the acronym is even SMART. Like, just even the word SMART lends itself to like, hey, I'm smart. I'm writing these goals. And then you go through the S, the M, the A, the R, the T. I have these memorized now. I talk about them a lot when I teach classes, but I used to have them written inside the back of my notebook. I still carry a pen and paper notebook with me everywhere I go for work. And so to help me remember these in the moment, to make sure that I didn't skip one or inadvertently forget one, I wrote them down on the inside of my back of my notebook, and now I've got them memorized. So let's take a look at the first one, the S. So this is for specific. So how do we use it? Well, we want to define exactly what we want to achieve. So each one of these is going to have a how to use it and why it matters, and then questions that you can ask yourself to make sure that you answer these, well, to answer the questions so that you accomplish the purpose of each step in the acronym. And so we want to know, what is the goal? Why is it important? Who is involved? Where will it take place? Basically, you want to answer the W's: who, what, when, where, and the H, how. So you want to make sure when you're creating these goals that you write the answers to these questions into the goal itself. And then why it matters: being specific eliminates confusion and provides clarity. So again, going to RCAs, often I see the people who are creating these solutions may not be the ones executing the solutions. And so when we're writing these solutions, we want to make sure that we can hand them off, or, write this nice little paragraph of a solution. It's little, couple sentences, but write out this solution and be able to hand that off to somebody, and that somebody isn't going to come back and have a whole bunch of questions. We want to be able to hand it off and they know exactly what they're supposed to do, when it's due by, anybody that they should consult along the way, and what resources do they have to accomplish this. Those are all things that they should know, that should be baked into your solution or your resolution. And then additionally, just a well-defined goal helps you focus your efforts. And it just sets you up for success. That's going to be one of the mantras of today's webinar, is making sure you're set up for success. Now, one of the things that my father taught me early in life, I'm not sure I listened as much as I wished I would have back then, but was just basically more planning on the front end leads to less stress on the back end. I don't know about you guys, but as a young adult, as an older teen, I didn't plan well. I wasn't thinking the long game. I didn't think far into the future. And so I got myself into some precarious situations because I just wasn't thinking things through, or I wasn't planning things well on the front end to avoid confusion or headache or heartache on the back end. And so I am now a much more analytical and calculated person in general. And so that's what I want to try to convey to you guys as well. So next up on the list is measurable. This goes back to setting those checkpoints or those progress points. What does halfway look like, and about when should that occur in relation to the deadline? So the questions we want to ask ourselves are, how will I know when the goal is achieved? And what metrics will I use to measure the progress? These are just two example questions, but again, you want to be able to check it off a list. Like, how will I know when I'm done? Or and what will success look like? And then why it matters. So again, measurable goals provide motivation. That's another thing that we're going to talk about. So just seeing your progress, seeing the water bottle get less and less and less fluid in it as the hours go by, is motivation to keep going. And then this also helps us stay on track by just ensuring we stay on track. If it was a opaque water bottle, you may not know. You may think you're halfway and really you're only a third of the way. So finding creative ways to be able to measure your progress is going to help set you up for success. Next is attainable. And so we want to be challenged. We want to make sure that we are solving the problem at hand, whatever that problem may be. But we also want to make sure that whatever this goal is actually achievable or attainable given our available resources. And so what tools or support, energy, finances, again, resources in all aspects of the word, what's available to get this done. And maybe it's just a time frame thing. So maybe the available resources, I can't do this in 3 months. It's going to take 6 months. Okay. We just want to go in eyes wide open to that fact and make sure that, again, we give ourselves enough time with the given resources to accomplish the resolution or the solution. And then why it matters. So don't want to set unrealistic goals, and we don't want to set too short time frames, because then again, we're not going to succeed. And if we fail, that doesn't feel good. And it may be very a demotivating factor to continue or to try again. Next up is relevant. So we want to ask ourselves, why does this goal matter? Or why does this solution matter? I think this can be pretty easy in RCAs. This is why we want to attach solutions to specific causes to make that correlation obvious and very direct. We don't want any questions of like, why are we doing this? What does this solution have to do with this problem? We want it to be very obvious. And so we want it to align with the organization's goals or our personal goals. Again, most people, I don't like speaking in generalities, but most people want to be healthy and we want to be wealthy, or at least we don't want to worry about money. So as we develop our resolutions, we want to align them with those health and wealth goals or learning a new skill, whatever it may be. And so again, why does this matter? Well, it just makes sure that it's in our heart. That may sound cheesy, or at least when it comes to the resolutions, it's in our heart. I mean, why else would we set a resolution if it's not something that really aligns with our core self? And so at work, this is why we also develop mission and vision. Most organizations have those statements so that you can align yourself and your like what you're trying to accomplish at work, what you're trying to accomplish through these RCAs, preventing problems, keeping people safe, being good stewards of the environment, and increasing profit. That's the overall goal of most organizations. And so we can ensure that the actions we take, whether they're through solutions, through the RCAs, or just general projects, are aligning with those goals. So last but not least is time bound. We want to set a due date. It's basically all that is. Again, you would think, I think by default, New Year's resolutions, do they have to occur in the calendar year? Because I mean, you're going to get to a January in 12 months and in theory have new ones. But actually, as I say that, you're going to see my goal is a multi-year goal. So yeah, it's just something to think about. You just want to make sure you give yourself the right amount of time, not too much, not too little, just right, the Goldilocks amount of time to accomplish that goal or accomplish that solution. And so we want to ask ourselves, when will I achieve this goal? What can I accomplish today, this week, this month? So sometimes you want to break that overall goal or the solution, the resolution, you want to break it into smaller tasks, organize those tasks. There may be a natural order to them. Do this first, do this second, do this third, etc., to accomplish that goal. And then why it matters, deadlines create a sense of urgency and accountability. And again, it helps you make sure you can check it off the list. Like, I know I'm done. Maybe you get done early. Or as you approach that deadline, you may find out you need additional time and additional resources. And so again, that's part of that tracking the progress and then making adjustments as necessary. I think in the workplace, one of the most important things you can do is communicate if things are not going according to plan. Communicate that to others. And sometimes we have to ask for help. Sometimes unforeseen circumstances pop up. That's okay. It happens. Again, it goes back to that navigating uncertainty. You have to start somewhere and get going. And then we just want to be transparent and communicative with what's going on.
So, hey, Katie, I wanted to ask a question about this one.
Sure.
As it pertains, like that's all good for personal goals, but then as it pertains to solutions that we identify in RCAs, do you think that people sometimes are over optimistic in the time frame that it takes to get something done?
Meaning that they set a time frame that's too short, realistic?
Yeah. Well, or maybe, like yeah, I guess they don't give themselves enough time, or they underestimate how much time it's actually going to take to get something done. And sometimes with the professional obligation, like a personal obligation, I don't know. I mean, you probably don't do this, but I'll let myself off the hook if it's that might be part of the problem. But with a professional obligation, though, it becomes frustrating. And sometimes, like I've seen when people don't get things done, then that can frustrate, whether that can make it hard for people to contribute in the future, because they're like, oh, well, last time they said they were going to do all this stuff and then it didn't get done.
I
guess
agree.
that's kind of diving in there, kind of the parallel between RCA and trying to get our own personal things done.
I think one of the things that I found surprising early on in my career is how long it takes to do anything at work, wherever you work. It just takes longer because a lot of times as an individual, as an employee, you're constrained or confined in some ways. You have to get permission to use resources, or you have to go find a team to do a project. You can't just go out and get things done the way you can in your personal life. And so a lot of times what I'll see is most organizations, if they want it done, quote unquote, quickly, you still get 30 days to do it, because it just takes time. And 30 days, 60 days, 90 days is a pretty common time frame that I see depending on priority, unless something is a immediate danger to life and health, which then it's a 24-hour, we got to get this done. But if that's not the case, in the real world, 30 days is still very quick. So to answer your question, I would say yes, but it's up to each organization, each department, each project team to know their available resources to make sure they set those deadlines. But hopefully if you do it once and you're not able to accomplish it, again, we got to learn. And so why didn't we accomplish that? And then how can we make adjustments for next time if we need either more time or more resources to get something done in a shorter amount of time? There's always trade-offs to things. And so I think as long as we're set continuous improvement and learning along the way and adjusting, which I think we all do as individuals over our career.
There you go.
So here's a couple of examples. This actually aligns with me. It coincidentally is about 10 years ago. I was a science major in college. I majored in environmental biology and chemistry. And so admittedly, I didn't learn a lot about personal finance, not from my parents, not in high school, and not in college. My parents were decent parents. They told me to save, and that's kind of it. They just saved. It's important. And again, of course, it's like a 16, 17-year-old. I was like, okay, yeah. But I had no real concept of saving. I sure as heck didn't know about compounding interest. So fast forward, and again, it was coincidentally 10 years ago, but I wanted to learn more about personal finance. I wanted to set myself up as well as I possibly could for the future. So how would I do that? I wanted to improve my personal finance, but how? So first of all, I needed to learn about personal finance. And so I started reading books. One of the first books I read was The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. I will say if anybody wants to learn about investing, this is a great place to start. I think he put that book into very plain language terms and demystified investing. I was intimidated. What I didn't know at the time is I was just straight up intimidated by investing in the stock market. Again, I was a scientist. I was not a business type person. So I read this book. I started listening to podcasts. But in this particular case, a not smart, I'm air quoting, not smart goal would just simply be learn about personal finance. Well, a smart goal would then be to read one personal finance book per quarter. Begin with The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. Depending on your time, your resources, maybe it's just one book a month. Maybe it's one book every 6 months. Maybe books aren't your jam. You can listen to podcasts instead. I know they've become quite popular and there is a plethora of them out there. Going on to number 2. So these are the mantras, right? Save more, spend less. Live beneath your means. So how can I save more? Well, that's not very smart. That doesn't really set me up for success if I just say, all right, Katie, you got this. Let's save more. One thing that you could do that's a little bit more SMART is to increase my retirement contribution, whether it's through a 401k at your work or everybody has access to a traditional or a Roth retirement. So increase that contribution by 1% a quarter. You will notice by this that I like to divide my years up into quarters. I have now found that that is realistic for me. Once a month is a little too much. Once every 6 months isn't quite enough. So again, once a quarter is the sweet spot for me personally. So
cancel one I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just like, cancel one subscription per quarter. You must have some subscriptions. Do you have a ton of them?
Yeah, what I realized. Yep. No, this isn't sustainable. Maybe I should say one per quarter for a year and reevaluate. Thank you, Brian, for pointing that out, because eventually I'm going to run out of subscriptions, and that's not the point either. Some of these subscriptions are helpful in a way or another, or the joy of one of or two of my streaming subscriptions outweighs the sadness of canceling it. So how do I want, you're leading me into the next one. I want to save more. Got it. Spend less. At least review. Again, this is just for me personally. Review what subscriptions do I have out there? They're sneaky. And I will admit that I bought an app. It was a plant identification app. I was wanting to learn. I moved to Savannah 6 years ago from Colorado. It's quite different flora environment. And so I wanted to learn more about the trees and the plants all around me. And so I got this one app at the recommendation from others, but it cost, I think it was $30. I thought it was a one-time deal because I didn't read the fine print. Okay, that's my fault. But lo and behold, a year goes by. Next year, I notice I do look at my credit card pretty religiously, and I notice another recurring or auto renew hit my credit card. I was like, well, shoot, that's not what I intended. I thought that was a one-time deal. So, for example, that's one that I didn't intend to pay for every single year. So just simply taking a look at your subscriptions, which ones are the recurring ones, or which ones can you just do without? Maybe you liked it for a while, but you haven't used it. So this is just an example of how, again, you can increase your saving, decrease your spending. Together, those will help you improve your personal finance. And then again, just learning about personal finance takes the intimidation factor away. So these are examples of SMART personal goals. And now let's look at some that I see in the workplace. So, we want to reduce unplanned downtime. Yes. Again, thumbs up. I would say most organizations, if you're operational by nature, of course, we want to reduce unplanned downtime. Unplanned is the key word there. Generally speaking, there's planned downtime. We've got to do maintenance, but we want to reduce unplanned downtime. So how can we do that? Well, here's a SMART goal. And again, this has several moving parts to it. But if we want to reduce downtime in the SMART goal methodology, then we could review 12 months of RCA, identify the top 3 recurring failure modes, and then reduce downtime by 15% within 6 months by implementing a preventative maintenance schedule to address the top 3 failure modes. A little bit more specific there. It gives us a little bit better direction, and it is also time-bound, so we'll know when we complete it. And then the second one is to improve system reliability. So these two things kind of go hand in hand, right? And again, improve system reliability, great idea, not SMART, or at least not written in a SMART methodology.
Though, Katie, if you did it kind of like this, like the big picture, reduce downtime, and then get smart, so to speak, with the details next to it, those two together might be okay, right?
Yeah, yes, right, yes. But we can't just leave improve system reliability, and I can't send you that email, Brian, and say, hey, you got a solution that's been assigned to you through this RCA. Your solution is improve system reliability.
Yeah, that's not helpful at all.
That'd probably feel pretty darn overwhelming.
Yeah,
at least I would feel that way. If I got an email that said that, I'd be marching my little butt right to that person and saying, we need to talk about this.
Yeah, but what's funny is that when we do these things professionally for clients, sometimes, not always, but the lawyers get involved, and the lawyers take the right side, the smart way, and then they put back, they're like, why don't you write it like this instead? Because they would really like a lot of ambiguity in what we're committing to do, so that because an ambiguous goal is something that you really can't hold yourself or others to account for.
Yeah.
Just an observation.
I don't disagree. If your goal is to set goals and accomplish them, then I recommend the SMART methodology. The lawyers may have a different goal in mind, or they may have a different path forward than what the RCA team is trying to accomplish. But again, I still go back to having those conversations, how can we accomplish both? Can we compromise? Can we meet in the middle? But we don't want to get going down this path, get 3/4 of the way done and then have somebody derail you. And so again, I'm just a firm believer in talking, chatting with people, getting all those concerns out on the table and agreeing on the goal before we start one way or another. So any questions along the way? I'm guessing not. You guys would tell me. All right, we're going to jump into my personal case study of a personal goal that I want to accomplish. And it's a big one. I've been thinking about this, but me going through the exercise of writing this out and looking at these pictures has been motivating, and maybe I'll check back in a couple years and we'll see what happens. One of my personal favorite personal finance podcasters. Her mantra is, you can afford anything, just not everything. And so I have finite resources. Although this is a pretty big trip, this is by far the biggest vacation, both financially and probably time, that I've ever taken. I sat down and wrote out a plan. If this is something I really want to do, then I can afford this and I can do this if I plan accordingly. And there will be trade-offs. If I do this, then this means I'm not going to do other things, or I'm not going to spend money in these other ways. So this is a real trip. You ride in this boat that you see down here on the left. They load up all your bicycles. They're like these crossover type bicycles, not all road bike, not mountain bike, but in the middle. And they go on this path. This is your cruise itinerary. And they drop you off at an island, and then you hop on your bike and you've got a guide, and they take you all over the island, and you have lunch and you see all the sights and you do all the things. And this combines some of my favorite things. I love the water that you see in these photos. Blue, clear, turquoise water, warm water. You won't catch me going up north on vacations or back to Colorado to go skiing. Nope, I head south. So is this possible? Again, yes, but I had to make a plan. So,
hey, Katie,
yeah.
I just wanted to say that Larry Saber is on the line today, and he's a big mountain biker, and he probably, like me, was wondering how in the world, like, it's a good thing that you mentioned the boat, because I was going to say otherwise that is quite a goal.
Oh yeah, you didn't know they make floating bikes now?
I would love it. That would be super cool.
How cool would this be though? Like, you get to bike on all these islands and then get on a nice cruise ship and cruise. And you can see none of those islands are super far apart from each other, and then you just cruise to the next one and hop off. I mean, this just combines what I like to do.
Awesome.
And if anybody wants to know, I wasn't really sure about putting the company name or anything like that, but if anybody just saw that and was like, I want to do this too, hit me up. I'll send you the information of the company.
We should all go with you. It should be an organized tour.
All right. Hey, well, first step is done. I've written out this plan for us all. So here we go. To come up with this plan, I had to consider a few factors. So there's the financial aspect of all of this, and then there's the physical aspect of all of this. And so I've got a twofold plan. Right here's my financial action plan. So first of all, I figured out between the cost of the cruise and the flights, and then giving myself some spending money, I need to save $10,000. Now, as much as I would love to take off and do this cruise this summer, I don't have $10,000 to spend on this year. And then when I started doing the math on what I needed to save, or I guess kind of like amortizing the $10,000, this isn't even realistic for me in the summer of 26. And this isn't really realistic, or at least not comfortably realistic, for 27. Like, that per month was just a little more than I was willing to part with. So when I kicked it all the way out to summer of 2028, I was like, okay, I can do this. That is a comfortable amount that I am willing to put aside every single month. So if I start now, January 2025, and put $250 into a savings account every single month, I will get $10,000 by May 2028. They offer this trip in July and August. So that'll give me enough money to put down the deposit early and then pay the remaining balance when it's due before we take off. But first, I need to open a dedicated savings account so I can measure my progress. I already have a high yield savings account. It is one of the ones that offers buckets. So I can just create a new bucket, which is essentially just like a silo or bucket within that savings account. So you can have different goals. So in a perfect world, you would have an emergency fund. And then, you can create multiple buckets for whatever you would like. And so one of my buckets would be Greek Cycling Adventure 2028. So I would create that bucket, and I will automate the monthly deposits. I'm not going to do this manually because that's not setting myself up for success. So I'm going to automate these monthly deposits and put it in that bank account. And then I'm also going to identify savings opportunities. So going back to what we were just talking about, cut back any unnecessary spending to help free up this $250 a month That's still a chunk of money to me. $250 a month is a lot. And so I need to take a look at my finances, but I can squeeze it out. But again, that means that I'm not going to be doing other things, but I can have that yard sale I keep talking about. I can dedicate any windfalls to this. Now, full disclosure, I don't get birthday money anymore. Like, that's not a real thing for me personally, but hey, if somebody maybe gives me $5 for my birthday, boom, it's going in the cruise account.
All right, Katie,
And
I'm sending you $5 for your birthday. Just let me
Thank
know when. You're gonna get a birthday card, just like you're a little kid. You're gonna get.
I know exactly. And then the last one, I put this and crossed it out, that started GoFundMe. A couple years ago, I saw some, feel-good piece on the news. I guess some college kid started a GoFundMe. He basically said, why lie? I need beer money. And his goal was like $100 or something. He got thousands and thousands of dollars from people. It was kind of nuts. He was totally overwhelmed. I don't even want to know the tax implications from that. But hey, this is a thing that people do out there. Normally you see it for unexpected necessary expenses like medical things that come up. But anyway, I would never really start a GoFundMe because I'm just too humble. This is my goal and I will save it for it. And it's also going to make me feel good to do that.
Hey.
So here is my financial plan. Is it smart? I think you could run down the acronym and say, yeah, it is. It is specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's relevant, and it's time bound. So let's take a look at the physical aspect of this.
Hey,
The fitness.
Katie,
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to it prompted me to think of the fact that most of the time in the world of RCA, problems are something that people don't budget for, right? So like when you come
Right.
up do an RCA, it's got a financial hit. You weren't expecting it because how could you? Oftentimes it's not like you can, you don't
Yep.
look at the crystal ball and see things coming. But then also solutions. And so like sometimes the solutions that are more expensive are you get a lot of pushback on. You see people saying right away, like they're like, yeah, let's retrain people, or let's do we can rewrite a procedure, or they do the things that are easy and that are cheap, don't really have a budgetary impact. But in a way, like this brings up the fact that one of the reasons the best solutions sometimes aren't implemented is because they simply don't have them in the budget. So I don't know if that's part of what we're going to talk about.
One thing that I've seen are short-term solutions and long-term solutions. And so you're right, maybe we don't have this, we don't have the resources to accomplish this solution right now. And so we'll make what I call bridge solutions. And so what can we do right now to reduce our risk? Let's do it. And then let's plan for this in the budget of next FY year. So again, we've got these like kind of short-term, low-hanging fruit solutions that'll bridge us to budgeting in the following year to do these larger capital projects. But ultimately it's up to the organization. A lot of times the people in the RCA aren't necessarily in control of those budgets. And so all we can do is make recommendations that we think is going to give us the best reduction of risk. And then it's up to somebody else to decide to adopt those, or again, have a conversation about making modifications to come up with some sort of compromise.
And do you think that, this is my last question around it, do you think it's a good idea for people when you're presenting to leadership and saying, hey, these are the things that the team recommends, and then to sort of recognize that some of those might be more difficult than others, and to go in with a plan, like a smart plan, kind of like this. Look,
Absolutely.
we know that this might be doable right now, and we might need to ramp into this, but here are some ideas for how that might happen over a multi-budget cycle.
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully the people who are in the know about those types of things are being consulted on some level when you're developing these goals, as well as like the SMART goal methodology, when you're developing the individual task, when you're asking for these resources. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise once you get into those leadership meetings. But occasionally it happens and you just have to adjust and have those honest conversations. So here's my action plan for the fitness side of this. You can see that I got to ramp up. I haven't been riding my bike a lot. Savannah is not exactly the most bike-friendly place compared to Colorado, so I'm a little out of shape. So I've made myself a plan to get back into shape by summer of 2028. And then I'm going to skip forward. I'm not going to go into the details because I want to catch these last 2 slides. But again, I put some thought into this. I want to make this realistic, so I'm not going out and trying to do a 30-mile bike ride tomorrow. I'm going to ramp myself up to it because I want to comfortably ride in Greece. I don't want to hurt myself or be miserable. All right, so I've got 2 book recommendations. Brian knows I like to read books that kind of can be helpful professionally. And so Atomic Habits. Brian, have you read this one by any chance?
No, but
You heard of it?
I never heard of it. But
Really?
if you just send it to me randomly, then I'll have it and then I'll read it.
Well, this book focuses on how small, consistent habits can lead to big, lasting change over time. And so this may sound counterintuitive after all that we've talked about today, but James Clear, he really emphasizes the power of focusing on systems over goals and improving your processes and your habits rather than fixating solely on the outcome. So again, what's that old adage, life is about the journey, not the destination. So the goal is the destination. We want to get there, but you got to have a well thought out path. You've got to have that plan. And so that's why when I was preparing for this webinar, writing that blog, it made me think a lot about this book. And it also makes me think of the old adage, work smarter, not harder. And so by writing these goals well in that SMART methodology, we're working smarter. And then let's see. So the next book is The Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande. And so then this book explores the power of checklists. I don't think, well, I looked, I don't know anybody super well on this webinar, but if you're in my personal life, you know me, I love checklists. I'm a checklist dork, okay? And so this book is all about how the power of a checklist can improve efficiency and reliability. And so Atul spends a lot of time explaining how checklists have drastically improved the reliability of the airline and medical surgery industries. And so I fly a lot. And after reading this book, I appreciate the thought that not only does the pilot have a checklist, but the co-pilot has an independent checklist as well. And so if anything on either one of those checklists is a no-go, then we don't go. And as frustrating as it is when you're sitting on that plane and you're ready to go and you've got that tight connection or you're ready to go home or go wherever you're going, when we don't go, I know that there's a good reason for that. And so I'm one of the people that just stay calm. And if I have to get off the plane, I get off the plane. If we sit there for an hour, we sit there for an hour. The airline doesn't want any extra minute of delay. The only reason they're doing this is some good reason. We may not know, but there's some good reason. So just kind of got to go with it. One couple like numbers. So I had to look this stuff up, but there's approximately 21,700 domestic flights per day. That means 7.9 million a year. According to Airlines for America, there were 21 accidents in 2021. So if you apply Lean Six Sigma principles, this gives the airline industry a defect rate of 2.65 DPMO, which means defects per million opportunities. And so why do I care about this? Well, this is why it matters to me, and this is what I think about. I don't like turbulence. I don't think it's fun. I don't like it. But I'm comforted by knowing this statistics. When we hit turbulence and we're bouncing all around, I am literally think of the statistics. Think of the statistics. That's what I do to calm myself when I feel turbulent. So I figure if checklists work for the airline and the medical surgery industries, then they're going to work for me. So again, I'm a big fan of checklists. This is a fascinating read with case studies from surgeons and pilots. So I highly recommend it. And the end. Thank you all for joining me today. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're going to end it and close it before I wanted to offer up another book for you too.
Okay.
Do we have a second to talk about another one?
Of course.
It's called Meditations for Mortals, and I'm going to send it to you.
Okay,
anyway.
Please. Thank you.
But I love those other 2 that you recommended.
Yeah. Here's a couple quotes that I found. I think most of us have heard measure twice, cut once, but man, it's a good one to remember. And then Ben Franklin's as well. And then this last one that's attributed to Abraham Lincoln. But I hope you feel inspired to sharpen your own axe and approach your challenges with clarity and purpose. If you guys have any questions or would like to continue the conversation, don't hesitate to reach out. Myself, Brian, Michelle, we're all on LinkedIn. You've got my email address right here. And so I wish you all success and confidence in your endeavors. And thank you for joining us today, and have a great day. We'll hang on in case there's any questions at the end, but thank you.
Nice one, Katie. That was cool. I definitely need to. I haven't read the checklist manifesto, but what else did Atul Gawande write? Do you remember? I'm gonna Google it while
I'm pretty sure that's his first book, and then he did have a follow-up book. I didn't read the follow-up book. I just read Checklist a couple years ago.
Oh, Being
Oh,
Mortal.
and I also wanted to point out to everyone that Katie will be teaching a public course
Yes.
next week, January 21st to 22nd. It's a virtual course. So if you would like to, discuss more RCA things, you could find her there.
Yeah. Or if you know somebody else that wants to go. So you do have all of our stuff. Well, we have a first quarter of webinars up on the site, but we'll get the rest of the year up there too. Here, I'll post a link to that public course page where we've got those going on, US and in Europe. So we are a lot of stuff happening. Everything's we'd sure love to see it, a public course and more of these webinars. So we got another webinar next week too, right, Michelle? Oh my goodness, we're double.
Yeah.
That's right.
I do want to say, I'm just,
What's that, Kate?
I'm reading Dan's comment. He says it's important to understand the impact of implementing a solution, particularly in an industrial process. We don't want unintended consequences of our solutions. Applying management of change is always a good thought. And Dan, I could not agree with you more. In fact, at that oil and gas company, we didn't have a management of change process. And that was one of the recurring causes of some of our issues. And so I actually got to be a part of this interdisciplinary team who built a management of change process from the ground up. And it was really interesting. And so this is something that I teach, is that, yeah, it's not uncommon for an RCA solution to trigger that management of change process. And although, Brian, you were talking about setting realistic timeframes and people wanting to get things done quickly, but we've got to identify unintended consequences. And once we identify them, then we have to mitigate them. And yeah, that takes weeks. I mean, in the real world, that usually will tack on at least 1 week, if not a few, because it's got to pass through safety, environmental, engineering, operations. It's got to pass through all these departments. Hey, is this going to impact you? How might it impact you? What can we do so that it doesn't impact you? So I couldn't agree with you more, Dan. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yep, super important. Well, cool.
All right,
All right.
thanks everyone.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Katie. Good stuff. Love it. Thanks for kicking us off too for the first one of the year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone.
Rocking and roll. And have a great weekend. Great long weekend. We'll talk to you all later.